Hello, how are you doing today? I look like a whole mess at 10 in the morning. Is it 10 o'clock or is it 9? It's 10 o'clock in the morning. I have work in 2 hours. We are totally fine. We are not panicking. You hear me? We are not panicking. Today's video is going to be a video idea that I got from Julia Mazzucato that I just saw her do a couple of days ago because I'm unoriginal and she came up with a really good idea. So today's video is going to be me talking about 10 favorite palettes that I have. I have a lot of palettes. And even though I have a lot of palettes, I don't really use a lot of them. And so therefore this was kind of difficult to get 10 palettes because I feel like I only use like 4. So this is like top 9 palettes plus one honorary mention that I've used a couple of times that I really enjoy. But most of these palettes I've used multiple times and I really enjoyed them. And we're gonna get started. We're gonna talk from biggest to smallest. And this is in no particular order. This is just my top 10 favorite palettes as in formula, color, scheme, and blendability and easy to work with type of thing. And I know I look like an emo kid from the 2000s. That's just the mood we're in today. I'm wearing a Bob's Burger sweater, so you know, that's where we're at today, and we're gonna get started. So the first palette that I will be talking about, and like I said, this is in no particular order, so don't be saying I prefer one over the other. These are all like equal in my heart, other than like 2 that are like really top notch, and I will let you know which ones those are. So the first one we have here is the Jaclyn Hill palette with Morphe. The first one, actually. Do I still have the plastic insert? No, I do not. This palette, as you can see, has been loved. She has been gone through some stuff. She's gone through some stuff. I'm not. Do you want me to swatch it? Should I swatch it? What do you think? I really love this palette. This color scheme, like if you cover the bottom half, it's just neutral. And you have literally almost every color from the lightest to like the darkest here down here. I really love this palette. I did a bridal shower makeup with this palette and it turned out great. I only have used it a handful of times, but every time I use it I remember how great the formula is on this, and I don't want to pan it because even though I love this palette, I think they changed the formula, and I like this like the original formula from like the first release, and I bought this from the first release even though I was at work when I bought it. I remember it like it was yesterday. This palette is versatile, it's easy to travel with, it's super thin, super compact, and it has everything. You have your pops of colors, your dark colors, your light colors, and like blending shades. And I love this palette and 100% stand by my purchase of this, even though I don't buy anything from Morphe anymore because nothing ever interests me from them. The next palette that I really like with all of my heart love, and I wish I didn't because I hate that I love this palette so much, is the Jeffree Star Jawbreaker palette. Let me just show you how beautiful this palette is. Like, do I need to say more? Look at her. She's beautiful. She's got all the shades that I could ever want. She has blending shades, she has greens, she has everything you could possibly ever want. Why am I like out of frame? Yeah, like blending shades, you have colorful shades, you have greens, purples, blues, all of the above. And this palette was super expensive. This is like one of my favorite Jeffree palettes because whenever I need a colorful shades, this is the one I go to. It's very pigmented, kind of chalky, but it's fine because it's like pastel-y shades. And I did not question whether I wanted this or not at all. I knew I wanted it immediately, and I always rave about this palette because I'm so glad that I purchased it because it's beautiful. Next, another Jeffree Star palette, and this is the last Jeffree Star palette that I have, and this is number 3 of the palettes. Not in order, but this the third palette that I really love. I believe I still have the plastic insert. Oh wow, look at me, I'm moving on past the plastic inserts. This is what it looks like. Super beautiful everyday shades, super beautiful shimmers, and like a gorgeous row of mattes down here that you can blend with. I don't really like the last row, I don't really use the last row, to be honest. This row hardly ever gets any use, but these 2 rows are everything. I use these 2 all the time as like blushes, and they're beautiful. This shade is like my favorite shades of all time. And these shimmers are out of this world. I love them. I love this palette. This palette is everything. This palette, like, this was like one of the first things that I bought from Jeffree Star that really like solidified my obsession with the brand for a little bit, and now I've stopped purchasing from him because I I just don't. I've learned from my mistakes and I know better. But this is one of my favorite palettes and I don't know what I would do without it because this is like the first thing that I go to when I don't know what I want to do. So I said from biggest to smallest, but I'm just gonna get this out of the way. The ColourPop Cute AF palette. This is the Yes Please palette, not the Cute AF. It just says Cute AF on it. So this is my Project Pan palette, and I put it in my favorites, even though it's messy because this was the first ColourPop eyeshadow palette that they released, and I died for it. I love this palette. This is the one I use every day. This yellow isn't shit, but like, look at me. I've hit pan on all the blending shades because they're beautiful, and yeah, I mean, it's beautiful. You got your mattes, you got your shimmers, you got light, you got dark, you got blending shades in between, and I think it's really beautiful. It's really excellent for the brand to have released this as their first release because it's beautiful. And like I said, this is a really, really good versatile palette. Very good first palette to come up with as a brand. It has all the warm tones. This was when like Modern Renaissance was being big, or was big and everything, and like these tones were it, and they did not disappoint. This is like one of my favorite palettes of all time. And yeah, I've talked about this enough. I feel like all I use on my channel is that palette, which, you know, I do, but you know. Next we have the Zoeva Caramel Melange palette. This is what it looks like. I know this is like the most basic color scheme, but this formula is everything. I love this formula. I know there are people who are not crazy about it, but like, let me just swatch this shade for you. Let's talk about this because it's so pretty, and they're so buttery, and like, look at it. I know it doesn't look crazy, but I've filmed a few videos with this palette, and every time I look back at them, I'm like shook. Because of the blendability, because of the beautifulness of them. Let me swatch another shade for you. I think we're just gonna end up swatching. Are you fucking kidding me? Look at that. It ain't no, by no means is it like a crazy duochrome type of shade, but it's beautiful and it's easy to work with. And the mattes are beautiful. It's a very good everyday palette, very good travel palette because you have such neutral shades and then one like really poppin' purple shade. But if you cover this, it's like just a matte like thing, and I know it doesn't look impressive, but it's impressive to me, and I love this palette, and I will stand by it. I love the Zoeva brand. I use mostly, like when I first started makeup, I used only their blending brushes. Like the Zoeva 221 and 228 are my favorite blending brushes. They are the only ones I ever purchased when I first started doing makeup. I didn't care for Morphe, but yeah, the brand and the palette is like one of my favorites. I love her, I stan her, and I will continue to use her. So yeah, the Ciate Glitter Storm palette. Look at the packaging first of all. Like, if that don't impress you, I don't know what will. There are a bunch of stars. It's beautiful. And okay, I know this looks not at all impressive, but these shades right here, these down here at the bottom, are everything. I'm gonna swatch them for you because listen, I have a video of my cat picking my makeup, and my cat actually picked this palette, so I will link that down below because she has taste. Both of my cats do, but the one that I filmed this video with had taste. Like, look at the shimmers, okay? Boy, if you don't get on my face, look at them. They're so beautiful, metallic. Look at where my nail just hit. Damn it, dude. Anyways, this palette is beautiful simply for the shimmers. I don't care for the mattes. I honestly would purchase this palette again, even if it's just for the shimmers, because they're out of this world. They're duochromatic, they're beautiful, and I mean, the names are beautiful too. Like, you have Firestorm, Comet, Solar, Stargazer, Jupiter, and I love things to do with space, and it has a beautiful mirror too. So yeah, packaging on 10, formula on 10, shimmers on 20 out of 10, 100 out of 10, and I love this palette, and I stand this palette, and I feel like Ciate's formula isn't really spoken about often, but it should be because this is excellent, honestly. Honorary mention because I've only used it like twice, but I do love this palette. This is the Anastasia Beverly Hills Soft Glam palette. This is what it looks like. I mean, could you want any more tones than this? You know, like, it's beautiful, it's wonderful, it's incredible. You have a black, you have a light, you have endless like shades that are warm and like a couple of cool tone shades as well. You have all the blending shades your heart could possibly desire, and you have beautiful shimmer shades. I love the formula in Anastasia's palettes, and I prefer this. This is like one of my favorite palettes. I've been meaning to get this for so long, and then when I finally got it, I just wasn't feeling doing makeup, so I haven't really used it. But I will be making a 3 looks 1 palette with this palette, 3 looks 1 palette with this look, with this palette, and with probably all of the palettes that have been in this video so far, because yeah, I love this palette so much. I need to use it more. Yeah, I think it's one of the second palette that I would recommend if you are looking into Anastasia's formula, because this is like a beautiful everyday palette if you're just starting off into makeup, because you have all the shades that you could possibly need to create a look, and you can create a look with just one palette on its own, which makes your money, like, it makes it even more worth it, you know, in my opinion, because you can like just take it with you wherever you go, wherever you travel, and yeah, it's beautiful, and it's a beautiful, beautiful palette. Now we're into the top 3, I would say. Okay, these are like 3, 2, 1 in a like ranked type of thing. So the Dose of Color Foundation palette comes in number 3 for me, because the next 2 are very sentimental to me, and that's the only reason. But this formula on here is incredible. I honestly die for the shade right here. The shade is everything. The blending shades in here are incredible. I haven't really used the blues because I'm too scared, I'm too pussy, or this green, but is that Dirty Money? I feel like, yeah, it's Dirty Money. I love this palette so much. This palette is everything I could have asked for. I bought it without hesitation because I love Desi and I love Katie so much, and this palette just was everything I could have ever wanted. The shadows are so beautiful. The gold in here, why don't we swatch? We're already swatching, you know? Like, are you kidding me? Look at these. Look at these. Is that not everything you could ever want? And I know this shade barely shows, but it's so beautiful and so reflective and so incredible, and I love this palette to death. Like, honestly, I don't know what I would do without it. I'm so glad I purchased it, even though I'm just questioning buying. No, I wasn't questioning buying it because I love Desi and Katie so much, but this made me love the brand Dose of Colors, and I think it's worth the money. I don't know if they still sell it right now, but I do know I'm so glad to have it because it is like iconic, you know, like not just iconic, it's iconic. We have this is number 2, the Tartelette in Bloom Tarte palette. This palette right here, guys, is a wreck. Look at her. Look at her. She's been loved. She's been bruised. She's been beat. This is the palette I took with me when I went to New York the first time. No, I didn't, because I didn't have this palette when I went to New York the first time. But this is like my safe bet. The shadows blend immaculately. This formula is everything. I'm so passionate about this palette. Like, really, truly, I think this is... I would repurchase this if I lost it. I think this would be the first thing I run to. Or yeah, this and the first palette that I'm going to talk about next are the first 2 I would go to repurchase if I lost all my makeup. Yeah, the shades are incredible. They're very cool tone, but not in a scary way. You could tell the shade has been loved. The shades below it has been loved. I love this palette to death. I need to use it more. I don't use it enough because, ugh, the smell of the shadows are so like nostalgic to me. I don't use it a lot because this is like the first palette, second palette. No, this was the first like high-end palette that I purchased that I kept, because the other one was the Urban Decay Naked 3, but this is everything. I love this formula. I love this palette. I thirsted for this. I thirsted and manifested this into my life. Honestly, the pigment is incredible. I don't really know if it's expired. It probably might be, but do I care? No. Am I gonna throw it away? No. Very cool tone shades. Very cool tone, but like, I love her. She's very easy to use as a beginner, and I was a beginner at the time when I bought it. But now that I have so many, I neglected it, and I need to get back into it, but I'm scared that I'm going to hit pan, and I don't want to get rid of that specific palette, so I might have to like keep 2 of them, because I want to look back at that in the future and be like, wow, I had that, and I loved it, and I manifested it, and I showed it so much love when I first got it because I wore it all the time, and it came with a little booklet, and there's a specific look that I went back to every time I used it, this palette, and it was in the booklet. But yeah, blending on 10, like formula on 10, packaging. The packaging is what I really thirsted after. On 10, I don't like the first Tartelette palette, but this one is the one that I was like, I need it right now. Number 1, ring the alarm, pound the drum, drum roll please is what I was trying to say, but I couldn't find the words. This is the number 1 palette I would go back to if I lost all my makeup. This is the first thing that I would repurchase. The Modern Renaissance by Anastasia Beverly Hills. This palette has been through some shit, y'all. Look at this. I've hit pan on 2 different shades. This is like one of the first high-end palettes that I thirsted, no, that's a lie, that I like had enough money to get the minute it released. And I remember it releasing like it was yesterday, and I wanted it so fucking bad, and I just like thirsted after it. And I wore this for my 18th birthday. I say this every time because this store is very close to my heart. This was the palette that I wore on my 18th birthday, and I had just gotten like a tattoo, and was it 18th or 19th? 19th birthday. I love this palette so much. I love her to death. I love the shades in here. I love that it's exactly the shades that I want, and it's very like it created a stir. This was a cultural reset when it first was released, and the formula is incredible. 10 out of 10. Obviously Anastasia's formula is supreme, and she just did so well creating this palette at a time she did, and it like changed the game, and everybody was releasing like palettes that looked exactly like this. And it's so funny because like this was the blueprint for all of them, and I love her and I appreciate her, and every time I look at this I just feel like so like not nostalgic but very proud of like how far I've come and how much I have now, because I didn't used to have anything. Like I don't know if I still have it up, but I did a like makeup collection video and I had very little, and this was in like I want to say either 2016, sometime around then, when I first started my channel. And I was doing Everyday May, and I did my makeup collection, and I had 1 drawer, and I had like 4 palettes or 5, and one of them was this and one of them was this as well. And so that's why they're very close to my heart. These were like the very beginning of my collection, and I had to save up a lot of money to buy them, and it was like the beginning of my makeup obsession and my brand obsession, and just really got me into it. And yeah, these are very close to my heart, but specifically this, just because I remember like getting this palette and being so excited about the formula and how it blended, because it blends very different from this, but yeah, I love this palette so much. I still love her to death. If I have a special occasion, this is the first palette I go to. It's the number 1 palette that I love, and these are my top 10 palettes. And that concludes this video, you guys. I know I talked so much, but hopefully this is like a shorter video. After I edit it, it'll probably be like 15 to 20 minutes, honestly. That is it for this video. I hope you enjoyed it. Let me know down below if you did. I was thinking of making like my top 10 highlighters, my top 10 blushes, my top 10, I think that's, well, maybe lipsticks, but that's it. I was thinking about making those, so if you like this video, let me know by clicking the thumbs up and letting me know down below which one you want next. And yeah, that concludes this video. Thank you so much for watching. Let me know down below what your favorite top 10 palettes are, if you agree with any of my opinions. If you don't, let me know why. And yeah, thank you so much for watching. Always remember to keep your head, heels, and standards high, and to treat people with kindness. And I'll see you guys again next week with another video. Little sausage is out. Bye, you guys.